What is up, YouTube? It's your boy Alex here from AlexCFE, and today we have another video. So today we're looking at a tier list. Basically, I've seen a couple of these kind of floating around on either Twitter, just videos coming out from a lot of other creators, by the way, too. Go check them out. But honestly, I just wanted to kind of put my opinion out there, things that I've seen from my playgroup, things from just results. This is just my general thoughts on the meta right now. Let me know what you think, obviously down in the comments below. Let me know if you disagree or agree. Have some side commentary also. Totally cool. Basically, just to really quickly give you an overview of what I am kind of seeing as like the different tiers. Obviously, the best decks, they have results. They're going to get results. They're things that we should expect to see kind of just absolutely dominating and being, you know, the tier 1A pick that they really are. There are still some meta decks that are kind of off to the side that could definitely be chosen as very strong picks, but not seen as the absolute very best. So I did want to kind of separate those categories. I know it might get a little blurry to some, but let me know if, you know, again, you disagree with anything that I'm saying. For the rogue decks, things that can kind of pop off, whether they have a specific gimmick or something that really pushes them over the edge. I'm going to be doing it by clans, but I'm going to be considering probably like the strongest deck out of that clan, in my opinion, when I place the clans onto the list itself. Serviceable means like you can play it. You shouldn't expect like great results, but on the right pilot, on the right, you know, if this is like your kind of clan, your deck, you know, you want to really push it, sure, serviceable. There's something there. You can definitely put it in that category. For long shot, just it's lacking a lot of stuff, but you know, you could have that one specific gimmick that it's very hard to get off, but if it does get off, maybe it's great. I think there's some decks that kind of maybe fall in this category, but just in general, I don't think entire clans probably will, but we'll see it. Lacking competitive build, just things that, again, I don't want to call any clan bad, because I think there is always something there that will like make a clan either A, really fun to play, or B, have that kind of winning image in their head. As long as you have a winning image, you know, always play what you want to play, do what you want to do. But I think that in terms of, you know, maybe like a BCS or, you know, Worlds coming up now, people qualified and everything, like I think these are the decks that are not going to be chosen quite a lot at all. So with all that out of the way, let's get started over here for the best decks. Actually, no, let's just start off by clan, obviously. So over here, just going to start with, I guess, the United Sanctuary guys. Wow, I didn't realize my mouse can get big like that. But it's my first time really recording, I think, a screen cap on a Mac. So I got a new setup over here, so I'm trying it out. But I think this is the Shadow Paladin one, and Shadow Paladin has like 3-4 different builds at this point. Just to quickly go over them, there is the Stall Luard that I kind of went over. There's a video on the channel if you want to go check out that list, something that kind of prolongs the game, tries to keep up with the Crest decks without actually being a Crest deck. There's Crest Luard itself. You know, again, these things kind of abuse almost the same things, but I think that the Crest Luard is a little bit more bricky and just a little bit more fragile in general. The payoff might be a little bit higher, but again, just you can't ride Raziel and close out. That is the next deck. Over here is the Claret Raziel. It's in my Luard deck as well. Again, Tommy Schnees Furno on Twitter helped me build that and really put a lot of time into testing it, so I think it's a pretty competent build. But Claret, I know Solomon played this, I think, at one of the European events, and people kind of realized, oh, you can slot in Raziel and go for like a crazy kill turn on Chain Ranker, things like that. So that is kind of abusable in a lot of different United Sanctuary decks. I'm trying it out in other stuff. It's not, I think Shadows is probably the best place for it, but the last build is obviously Revengers. Revengers came out in the deck set, which is actually a really great product if you're just starting out, or if you want something that's like, you know, you don't have a Shadows core and you want something like, that's a great way to kind of just jump into it. Very high high aggro, high risk kind of deck, but high reward as well. So definitely check that out if you are interested. I think this is going to go Shadows probably in the rogue category, just because you can blitz somebody out with the Revengers deck. I think also with the right pilot, I think Stall Luard is pretty good. It's probably the second best build, if not parallel to the first best build. I also think that, you know, the Claret one is a little bit more fun. Maybe it's more memey. Crest Luard just isn't doing enough right now, so they're kind of whatever. But I think Shadows does belong in the rogue category. Next up over here, this is Angel Feather. Angel Gize, I think, is the best Gize build right now. I haven't done a huge amount of testing, but I've tested a lot into this. I have not me personally playing it, but playing against it. And I think it's extremely frustrating if you can't deal with it. There are some ways to, and I don't think it's the absolute best deck like meta tier 1A. But at the same time, I think this is beyond rogue. I think it's definitely a consistent strategy now with the tools that it has. You know, you have ways to obviously rig the top of your deck. I think Ghidorah is out of it too. Ghidorah kind of countered a lot of this in that you can lock a column so that you couldn't necessarily place things down. You can place your Zeroth Dragons down. That does come into play, but I think that this now kind of exists in the meta builds area. Also, you can go with just like a classic Gavriel with the 3CB kind of one-shot kill. I forgot the name of the card off the top of my head. Hamiel's card. But yeah, that also exists. I think Angel's actually in a decent spot, and if you're sleeping on this deck, definitely don't. check it out, you know, play against it if you have somebody at locals that has it or whatever in your play group. I definitely think it's solid. Next up over here is Royals. Royals is in a weird spot too. I think that the Salome build is pretty good in Jewel Knights. There is an Alt Maya build also. There's some funny stuff running around with like an Alden Jewel Knight kind of build as well. There's just like a lot going on for it, but I don't think that it really has the tools to push it to like a tier 1A, or it could rogue out potentially, but I'm going to put this probably at the top of serviceable just because I feel like all of the builds are kind of like, I don't think it's got many results. I don't think that it is truly pushed fast enough like a lot of these other decks are. I think it is pretty aggressive. I don't think the defensive tools are that great in general in the deck. There's a really funny like Alfred build that I run too in Royals, but that's you know, that's very like long shot-y kind of thing, very gimmicky, but I think serviceable is pretty good. You could argue that it goes somewhere in the rogue category too, but if we're just kind of taking a a mixture of all these different decks together, I think in the serviceable category is pretty good. You know, I wouldn't be surprised to play against it, especially at a BCS or something. I think there's still Toronto left. I don't know if there's any other events past that, but I would put it over there. I think this is OTT, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah, this other one's Genesis. I think this is Gold. OTT, I don't know. It's tough because there is that lockout you could do with the D card, like Witches OTT kind of has something going on. Battle Sister OTT kind of has something going on too. I think this is more in the long shot category. If you can get it to do what it wants to do, I think that it can be very good in the right hands. I think, again, this is one of those decks that are just a little bit too slow. Defensive capabilities are okay. I think that it just really doesn't have a super solid game plan. Like the Stride Up is okay for it, like the Susanoo, but it's just like weird builds, weird things kind of put together. I feel like the clan does a lot and has a lot of great tools, but right now it just doesn't have that solidifying factor, like what is the best. And maybe I'm wrong, you know, maybe you can push this a little bit further. Maybe there's some build out there that I just don't know. I think that there is a lot, honestly, still that people don't realize. Like there's not secret builds, but like there's stuff that I'm trying with my play group and things that like, oh yeah, that can work with this or whatever. And like, I know that it works on paper, but I'm trying to make them, you know, I want to test decks before I actually bring them to the channel, which is why I've been a little bit slow lately, honestly. My work has just kind of taken over a whole different speed, taken a whole different speed over the past couple months, and big life event on the horizon coming up, so maybe I'll make a Twitter post or something about it. But yeah, so it's kind of side tangent there, but I think OTT kind of is a long shot. Again, I think it's a good clan. I think there's a lot of things going for it. In the right hands with the right player, you could do stuff, but it is kind of competitively at least a long shot right now. What did I say? I said this was Gold, right? Yeah, and I think that's Genesis. Don't quote me on this if you know, if you're posting this somewhere, you know, just realize I'm kind of giving this as a forewarning. But for Golds, I think this also fits in kind of the serviceable or the rogue, either the bottom of the rogue or like top of serviceable. I think that you have a couple different, or you have like one main build really. It's really like an Ultima Rush. I also have a build of this on my channel. I don't know that it's really changed over the past couple months. I know that there has been some variations. I know some people are still really pushing. If you want a really good Golds player, I don't really personally know him. I was in a Discord with him once upon a time, but Roman, I think that's how to say it. Roman, he's French or whatever. He's like the best Golds player. I think it's kind of, I don't know, universally known or whatever. He pushes Golds builds very, very good. If he's posting it, I would play it kind of thing. Go check him out. But I think that the Gurgit build, just kind of rushing that Ultima, is the only way the Golds really goes right now. You can do the Ezel build. It's just super cheesy now that you basically have the Heal Guardians. Like, it doesn't really work as well. I don't know. I'm trying to think off the top of my head if there's any other Gold builds that I am kind of glazing over. No pun intended. But I don't think so. So I'm going to put this at the top of serviceable. You could put this at the bottom of rogue. I think they're kind of, you know, intermingled at that point. For Genesis, I'm going to say this is a rogue deck, and this probably is the top of the rogue category because of the Fenrir build. If you have the right player, the Fenrir build is still absolutely insane. Like, it really is good. The problem you have with this really is time rolls. And like, if you get the double loss, you obviously, that just absolutely kills you in a bracket, in a, you know, the Swiss, everything. Like, do not double loss yourself. Like, if you have to roll it out, I know you're just not supposed to. You'd rather do that and have your opponent win and then maybe get, you know, bubble up if you can, just based off their win-loss record later. So Fenrir is in a bubble really, really good, but I think in practicality, if you're talking about BCS time rules and stuff like that, even if your locals keeps very strict time rules, you know, I probably wouldn't play that. I think it's still very, very good though. Moving on to another hot topic. Obviously, I haven't gone over like the ban list or any premium changes, things like that. but Megacolony did get hit. 2 Gridoras down, which I don't think is the worst thing in the world. I think Gridora kind of gatekept a lot of different builds and then abused others. So having the floodgate kind of there, still with 2 copies of Gridora, a limited amount, is still kind of keeping some things in check in a sense. But at the same time, not abusing clans that absolutely die to it. Like, you know, you just can't play the game. That's not what Vanguard is. Vanguard's not Yu-Gi-Oh! So I kind of get it. Whatever. I'm a heavy Bugs player, so I kind of like it. But I think this is still their current builds right now. There's one build that's not being played at all. I haven't seen anybody even talk about it that I'm still testing out. I still want to like make sure what I think of it is legit. But on top of that, there is still pure Ghidorah you can play just with the regular Darkface stuff. There's Mythiarch now, who is it? Peter and somebody else from, I think it was Eclipse. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But Peter's obviously been innovating this for a long time. I think he's been pretty much the Megacolony guy, where you look towards for, you know, all your Megacolony needs. So shouts out to you, Peter. But I think that Mythiarch is probably the best Ghidorah build right now. And if you're not playing Ghidorah in this, like, you know, Shield Fisher builds, flag build is okay. But the Mythiarch package is just so consistent, so it just feels absolutely nice. There's a hand rip to it. I think that this is the build to kind of go with. So I'm actually going to say that this one right now still is meta. I don't know exactly. Maybe I'll at the end kind of shuffle these around, but I'm going to say it's a meta pick. I don't think it's one of the best decks anymore, even though it did have a 100% conversion rate the last at Tampa BCS. I still have to see a little bit more out of it before I categorize it as best deck. Over here with Neo Nectar, not much has really changed for this. It's super versatile. You know, I say not a lot has changed, but I think stylistically now people are playing this a little bit different. There's a going second build with the Innis stuff. There is where you completely abandon the G-Asha because it's useless past the first stride, and you can tank and turtle kind of really well. You can still do the superior stride up. You can still do that Asha build. You can still do the blue Asha if you really want to. But the fact that, you know, your entire deck is a piggy bank on Katrina is not limited in any capacity. I still think this is one of the best decks, one of the most consistent decks. And now the Ghidorah got a hit, I feel like, you know, you might see this a little bit more. Again, we have to see more of a competitive season to really get this nailed down, but I'm going to put this in the best decks category. I don't think anybody can disagree with that. Great Nature over here. I love Great Nature personally. Shouts out to Devlin if you're watching this over here. I think that there are still things undiscovered with this, and I feel like this is definitely the clan that it's like everything sounds so good, everything sounds amazing. All of a sudden you play it and it's like, this, you know, it's just a little bit fragile. It doesn't really have, you know, the long-term kind of game in mind. It wants to blow people out fast, but it can't really get there fast enough. So I feel like it's like a high RPM, low output kind of deck in a way. It's lacking some torque or something, but I'm going to say it's lacking a competitive build right now. I think that the best build for it is probably some variation of Big Belly. Also, Trey put out a video. I think he's Tracef on YouTube. He put out a video on a really, really interesting kind of deep dive into the clan as well. So if you want to learn more about that, go check out Devlin. Go check out Tracef. Trey is a really good player, really good video maker too. I actually love watching all of his videos. I feel like I walk away with like a master's degree in whatever deck he's talking about. I have that much like knowledge gained from it. Over here, Night Rose. Obviously, this is one of the clans that did get a new crest. So in Premium, I think this is absolutely amazing. This is still the toolbox nightmare that, you know, it's always been. I feel like without Ghidorah, you don't have to rely so much on the oh god, what is the Bad Bounty? I think Bad Bounty's the restander one. I forgot off the top of my head. I honestly am terrible with names of cards. That's all my friends group, all my, you know, play group, friend group, whatever, they all know to just like describe the card, like, oh, the ship that does this or whatever. I'm like, oh yeah, of course. But I think this is probably one of the best decks, if not the best deck. I'm definitely going to put it on the top of that category for right now. This is Aqua Force over here. For Aqua Force, I feel like there's been that standard Thavis build for a long while, and it definitely, once we got the history collection stuff, this deck just took a huge step backwards. What it was good at no longer became super relevant. On top of that, it doesn't have like a clear G zone, like, yes, I go into this, all you do is farm, all you do is push, all you can do is a little bit of a little bit. I thought that until I saw who's a Deck Players video. I'm putting that deck together right now. I haven't played it enough to really honestly say, but it looks really interesting. I feel like this is like one of those decks where if you can catch somebody out, you could rogue somebody out. You could definitely, I don't know, catch somebody kind of lacking, so to speak. But I still think it's kind of a long shot, and you need to be the right pilot. You need to have the right kind of circumstance. I saw that his tournament report, I read it on Twitter and stuff. I feel like this definitely belongs in like the long shot category. If maybe the bottom is serviceable, maybe it touches rogue. I just don't think there's been enough out there. I don't think I've played enough on it to honestly like speak on it. Let me know what your thoughts are specifically on Aqua Force if you are a big fan of that. Bermuda over here, I think Bermuda just in general, they have a ton of different builds. This deck has like so many builds. There's like things that I've seen that I don't think I've seen in any tournament. There's always like some D series iteration of this like super sleeper kind of thing that pops out of nowhere. I've seen a couple on Twitter. Can't think of who posted it and stuff. Very recently, I think in Europe, somebody played it and had a really interesting deck list. But you know, I still think you can go Bermuda beatdown with, you know, Anj. You could still do like a Riviera Superior Ride Up build. You could what is it? You could do so many different things. There's Premium Siana. I don't know what goes into the deck. There's Premium Midel. There's like so many different tools and so many different builds for this. I'm gonna put this at the bottom of Rogue. It might honestly be a little bit higher, but I think that there's some build out there somewhere, like Prisons. There's so many things. I think this has to be in the Rogue category in that it can snatch games off you, has a really super strong generic stride that can so many things in this clan. Not going to abuse, but really take advantage of in a lot of ways. So I think at the bottom of Rogue, it probably is floating around there. Next up, one of the best decks too, Pale Moon. Obviously got the crest. I think that this deck is, again, another piggy bank kind of deck in that you're, you know, get things into your soul. It has disruption, defensive capabilities. The power scaling on an Excel deck is just absolutely insane. I think in the right hands, this is the best deck. I think we've seen the results. I think crests have like topped everything over the past 2 events. So I'm going to put this right behind Night Rose. Maybe it's better. I can't really say. I think it's pretty, you know, tomato kind of thing, but it's definitely one of the best decks right now. There's no debating that. I've seen a lot of discourse around DI. I don't know what it is. I feel like I've gotten bit by the DI bug lately. Like I have so many builds of premium DI going on right now. There's obviously the classic, just the Barrow NLK, strong in the right hands, hit the right cards. You know, I think you can rogue anybody out. There's also just a very basic Shahrat build that I've been tooling with a little bit more, trying to fine-tune it as much as I can. You know, sometimes the aggression is just enough to push you over the hump, has good defensive capabilities, has kind of like a Hail Mary card in there as well in, oh god, what is it? The band grade 4. Oh my god, I forgot the name of it, Castile. So the clan does have a lot going on for it. I think it is probably a rogue deck. I think that you could maybe say it's meta. I just don't think it's consistent enough in a way to kind of get to that meta space. There's the Castile build. There's like a lot of different things you can do with it, but I know there's something floating around Dantarian too. But all in all, I think that it is probably sitting at the top of Rogue. I wouldn't call it meta. I just don't think it's as popular enough or consistent enough necessarily. But I think the ceiling for this deck is super high. Like it's floating around these two categories right here. So very good clan. If you know you hit the right things, do the right, you know, any given Sunday, that kind of thing for football is DI's quote in my head. Any given Sunday. So any given BCS. Gears over here. I'm gonna. I play with 2 extremely good Gears players. Like these guys are just nuts. Like I don't think they ever like misplay. Like they're super good. I think the deck, you know, obviously being a crest deck, it has that potential to just go absolutely bonkers. Like this could kill you on its first stride up. Like that's what it's really geared towards. And if you don't do that, like it still has backup plans. I think this is probably the top of meta, to be honest. I don't know that it's maybe like the best deck, but I think that it definitely has the tools and potential to, you know, hang with the biggest boys here. On top of that, outside of like the crest getting the grade 1, like it's very consistent. Maidens are still kind of like around. They're not, you know, super competitive right now, but I think the crest jet build is just, it has to be kind of given its flowers, so to speak. And I think it is definitely still a meta deck. I would not be surprised to see this in one of your events. And I think the grade 1 crest things are kind of getting reprinted for this and Messiah, if I'm not mistaken. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that in the future a little bit more. The rest of the card pool is very accessible at this point, and I really like that personally. So yeah. Lastly, over here, spikes for Dark States, or whatever they call it, Dark Zone, Dark States, whatever you want to call it at this point. Spikes, I think, is very good. Ghidorah still exists, so, you know, you could be very limited in what you do there, but there is, you know, alternate routes you could take. There's basically 2 to 3, I would say there's 3 main builds for this. Firstly, the GB8 build, just getting that out, pumping it out, like, you know, pretty strong in and of itself. It's very consistent at this point too. A lot of different ways you can kind of go about it too. On top of that, there is just the regular galley smash. If you're not worried about Ghidorah, if you just want to, you know, beat the brakes off somebody, do your little, you know, the Rising Nova kind of stride up and pseudo stride up, so to speak, and just go and galley after that and just go combo heavy, like sure, absolutely. And then lastly, I think Bruce Loop, if you've tested it, I feel like it's so good into so many different builds, but then, you know, if you miss the combo, if there's like 1 or 2 pieces you don't have, it is very consistent, but there are times where it's just gonna happen. It's such a piece reliant kind of thing. It's times where you will fail it, but I think this is definitely sticking around the top of the rogue category. I kind of don't know. Is this one gold? I think no, this is Genesis. Yeah. I forget. This is Shadows. I forgot which one is Shadows, but maybe Shadows is like kind of hanging around there. I'm gonna leave it right there, but I think that Spikes is, yeah, maybe like somewhere right here. The consistency of Shadows is probably better. The high end of this is probably better though. I don't know. These are a little bit intermingled. It's kind of opinionated at that point. Like, doesn't really matter so much. Another deck that I think belongs in that rogue category altogether, almost like this whole clan, this whole nation, I feel like kind of belongs there. But this is Dimension Police. Dimension Police has superior rides, has the Dayusha kind of build, has the regular Dayusha build. It's just super solid. Like, it always will be solid. Swinging, multi-attacking, doing like a pseudo overlord on a Stargate kind of clan. Hitting that over trigger is absolutely brutal. There's so many ways to do like PG blocks, get your not recycle your heroes, but really get more utility out of them. This clan has a whole lot going for it. I think that this again is kind of on the top, maybe like right here. I don't know. Genesis, I'm kind of on the fence about, but I think it's like right over there for Rogue. Maybe I almost want to put it at the bottom of meta, but if I'm not putting DI there, I don't feel comfortable putting Dimension Police there. I would not be surprised to see anybody play this though. For this right here, I think for Link Joker, there is pure Messiah Crest. It's okay. I think it could be really decent if you can pull off the Excelix finisher. I think there's also, what is it, Deleted Messiah, pure Deleted. There's a lot going for this guy. I don't think it's as strong as some people do. I think it's very good, and I think there's ways to play it. I think it's like right around here though. It's definitely Rogue in my opinion. Again, some people argue, say it's meta. I think that's valid. You know, you could have your opinion. I know very, very good Link Joker players, and I think they're straying away from it right now. Chaos is still around, but it's not quite as powerful as it once was. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of a mixed bag. For this right here, for Novas, it used to be Rogue, but I think in this current format with the crests, I think it's probably on the top of serviceable. You could consider it Rogue. I consider it maybe like a Rogue deck, but like for the sake of this list, I don't think that the Victor build is any longer like the insane meta threat that it once was. Everybody is running Hanali's in the deck. Their deck's like absolutely every clan has so much access to it that you have to be so careful. I think right now, for the pieces in the clan, yeah, it's better. It's in that rogue category, but just what the meta is shaping out to be, I think that it belongs in the serviceable kind of category, in my opinion. Up here, getting into my favorite nation, so to speak, Dragon Empire. Kagero, it's so tough. It really is. I think that this is definitely like a long shot. You have, I actually have them physically like right here, like right next to me. I've been building an Overlord. I'm just tooling up my Overlord deck. I've also been looking at Lawkeeper as well, Dragonic Lawkeeper. Let's see if I can pull one off the top, but whatever. You can see this is Kagero card. I have been playing with these, and I've been trying to make them work as much as they can. It's still just tough, you know. You could blow somebody out with Overlord, but I think it also just topped this past weekend. Maybe in Tampa, maybe in Europe. I forgot where it is, but I think the Kagero still is in that long shot kind of category. Murakumo, right? This one is Murakumo. Yeah, this is Murakumo. There's another one that's probably long shot, probably even behind OT. You could do the Shiryuki build with this. I think that you could also, I brought it to the channel. It was the Eugene Murakumo list. It was pretty cool. I think in the right situation, it could be extremely good. But again, everybody's running so many Hanalis. You have a lot of farm. You have a lot of access to your deck. Like, it is actually a much better. It reads better. It plays out fine, but it reads better on paper. I still think in a competitive environment right now, it's still a long shot. You just don't have that absolute kill. You have that like wave. And if you can't just kind of get over them or get over that hump with that wave of aggression that you have, I think that it kind of settles over here in the long shot category. Lacking a competitive build, I think, for dinos right now, I'm going to put it I would probably put it behind Great Nature. Look, I love Tachikaze. I absolutely do. This was one of my first premium clans that I really dove into. I really do love it. I think there are a lot of great cards, a lot of great combos. If you can get them off, sure, you can aggress anybody down. I am currently doing, I might make a video on it actually this weekend. I've just been so busy, like super busy to make videos. There is an Alcolibria kind of fun Tachi build. I think maybe there is something floating out there that's a decent deck, but again, you have to put so much time into it. You have to get, have the right things kind of happen to you. I don't know of any other crazy builds. Like, there's the Ancient Dragon build that could abuse the new Stride, or the 2022 Stride. at the end of the day, it's just not worth the effort that you would have to put into it. And, the stars really have to align for you to competitively see success with this deck. So, Narukami, I think that it's really tough. I don't think it's meta in that I haven't seen it like a ton. I think maybe it's not the right format for it in general. But I want to say it's super consistent. It has really good kill turns, and it has really good farming. It can do everything that a meta deck really wants to do. I just don't think it has the absolute same kill potential. And right now it's getting overshown by some of these, hey, look, this is what's going to kill you. Our consistency, our this, or that. I think that this probably belongs, I want to say at the top of Rogue, because you're not seeing a lot of people play it. I don't think it's super strong into particularly any of the top things over here. Maybe like Granblue a little. I don't know. There's certain things that might be strong, but I think it's definitely still Rogue, in that it's not one of the most popular picks right now. Also over here, lastly, Nubatama. I think that there are pretty much two different builds you could be playing with this. Either pure without crests, Shiranui, just not really that great. It's okay. I actually have a build of this because I don't have all the crests makers just readily available to me. I think with the crest though, it is still a very powerful deck. I think it's still super hard to kind of get over some of the control. There are ways you can play around it, of course, but you have to be prepared for that. I feel like you're going to catch a lot of people out still. I don't think it keeps up with the aggression now of the best decks, but I still think it is a meta deck. I still think it's hard to kind of compete with. I think that it has the toolbox it's looking for. You can go Daihosen also if you're not doing crest. There's side steps you can kind of do, but overall, any clan that just makes you get rid of your whole hand is pretty hard to deal with. The consistency is there, has a crest, can do a bunch of different things. Yeah, I think it can get over some of Ghidorah. It actually pairs really well into Ghidorah, so that's why I'm kind of putting it over. I think that, yeah, right there in the meta kind of decks, I would still consider this a meta deck, yeah. But yeah, this is pretty much the list. Let me know what you think down below. Let's just review really quickly and go over. I feel like this is something else that kind of belongs in the best deck, maybe. Maybe I'm just rating things a little too low. Right now, Granblue, Pale Moon, interchangeable. I think Nectar's I hesitate to say the word worst of the best decks, but I think it's probably the second or third best deck right now. For the meta decks, yeah, I feel good with Crush Jet. Angel Gize is just so good. If you're doubting this right here, you haven't played against it enough, and you haven't played against the right pilot. It's gotten results this season too. I think Derek posted a list on this. I haven't seen his tier list. I know he made a tier list video. I think he rated this one pretty high, I heard. Nubatama over here, I think that, still is a meta deck. Like I said just now, I still think Ghidorah with the Meteoric package, still things to kind of discover in this clan. There's one other build. Again, I haven't seen anybody else do it. It's a little more fragile, but it could have a higher potential overall. There's an idea to go with that I think I've heard some people say some disparaging stuff. Maybe there's things still undiscovered. That's all I'm going to say. For Narukami, the top of Rogue, I think maybe this could even float into meta. Maybe that's just my bias. Narukami's my absolute favorite clan, so I think that probably is the top of Rogue. Same with DI. DI could hang out in the meta build, but I think it's just a little bit risky in a lot of different ways. So with that, yeah, same kind of thing right here with DP. I feel like these three almost are in the same, almost deserve their own category. They're just not quite there in what I would consider super stable meta. Maybe DP is, but it's also kind of fragile in some ways. And I think it loses hard to some of these builds up here. That's why I kind of put it a little bit lower. For Fenrir is Fenrir. Just if the time rules didn't exist the way that they did, maybe this would be in the meta conversation, but we're just not seeing it in a meta capacity. I don't think that it can exist in this environment right now. It also doesn't scale the power as well as obviously some of these crest decks, but that's not really the thing that you want. You want a game mechanic to win you the game. It's like an alternate win con, so to speak. So don't confuse that. Spikes, yeah, I think that's definitely Rogue. Blast anybody out with any of their builds. I think that with the right pilot. I think Rudy on Eclipse, I met him once at BCS, one of the White Plains or something like that. Really, he's a cool guy. Very, very good Spikes player, though. He topped or qualified? I'm not sure if he qualified, but he was playing his Spikes build. Shadows, I think Stall Luard is actually really good. It can counter a lot of these, goes up against a lot of these things pretty well. That's maybe why I'm putting it there. Revengers can, again, just rogue anybody out, so that's really what's floating it there. A lot of different ways you could play Link Joker. I don't think it's a bad deck at all. I think it's above serviceable. Chaos is still Chaos. You get into the right player, you can absolutely beat them. The leader Messiah itself, they have options, and I think that it is kind of in that rogue category. Bermuda maybe is a little bit higher, but again, So many builds. I don't know that what is truly the best build at the moment. I just have not put the time enough into the premium version of Bermuda. I have like my Angelus. I have like a couple. I have like some weird builds too, just like for fun. I know there's also Pacifica. Like there's so many builds that I feel like this has to be in the rogue category. It's more than serviceable. Like there's something broken there. Like there always kind of will be in Bermuda. So huge card pool, huge. Serviceable. Yeah, I think that these three. It's kind of sad to see these two there because I do really like them. Nova's just, there's Blouse, there's a Tachikaze main phase, you know, attacking crap with the Stride. There is obviously I think Victor is probably still the most competitive build. Maybe there's something in Nova Grappler, but I don't think it's really enough to be rogue right now, just with the current meta and how much Hanali is running out there. Same with like gold kind of goes in there too. Like you're kind of limited in your attacks, so if you can get that Ultima off, you know, maybe you can curate your turn really well, but like once you run out of gas, you kind of run out of gas. So I'm kind of putting it there in that regard. Royals, there's a lot going for it. It's just, you know, I feel like the ceiling is kind of limited. I feel like a lot of decks are able to deal, like the best decks have such better defensive capabilities. It's just able to kind of deal with that. Over here, Aqua Force has really interesting, unique builds. Again, just not quite as good as it used to be. Kagero, again, you can long shot it. You can kind of rogue it out with like Overlord, but I think that in general, we're looking at a long shot for that. OTT, same thing, where it's, I don't think any of these clans are bad. Like I don't think any clan is bad. Like that's the beauty of premium. There's so many things you can do, so many like matchups you will win, and there's so many ways to kind of get out of stuff. But again, I think that other things just have a little bit more on them. So OTT is kind of in that category. I feel bad putting all these things here. Murakumo, yeah, same thing, where it's just like, doesn't have a competitive build, but it has builds that kind of people play, and if you put the right time into it, so on and so forth, like yeah, you could do it. These two, just I don't think there is, it doesn't matter how much time you put in, I don't think there is just a competitive enough build, something that's been discovered and broken right now. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm eating crow 2 weeks from now, because I don't want to curse on here. But speaking of, I saw Crow qualified, and I'm very happy for him. You know, I think he's a community favorite, so I was definitely happy to see he's qualified for Worlds. But yeah, lacking a competitive build, both Tachis and this, super fun. I still tool around with them. I still have their decks fully built right here. I don't know if you guys see my closet back there, but that's like pretty much all my cards are in there. One day I got to do a collection video because it is insane how many cards I have. But yeah, again, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys are enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like on the video, possibly consider subscribing to the channel. I know this video has gone way over the length of time that I was planning on having it be, but thank you guys if you are sticking around. And again, this is Alex from Alex CFE signing out.